buckle in because we have a story time about my neighbors from hell. This is also why we were forced to move 2 months before our lease actually ended. A lot of you guys know we just moved into our dream house after living in a 2-bed, 2-bath apartment for the past 4 years. We moved in right before the pandemic started around 2019. All things aside, we loved it there. It was my happy place, my safe space. That is until our new neighbors moved in 2 months ago. The way our apartment complexes were set up was like duplexes, so you didn't have like large buildings. You just had 2 apartments stacked on top of each other, which was great because it allowed us to have a really big porch, but the apartment itself was like under 900 square feet, and you could hear everything in these buildings because they were old, they weren't built the best. So if someone was having an argument next door, you knew about it. I always like to introduce myself to new neighbors because our community was so small. Everyone knew everyone. So when this new family moved in, I went downstairs and like knocked on the door and I was like, hey, my name is Taylor, just in case you ever need anything, don't hesitate to come ask. It's like a woman in her late 20s and she was like, hey, I live here with my 2 daughters. Immediately, she was very, very closed off and very like wouldn't open the door very far. After they officially got settled in, it became a revolving door of people at every single hour of the day. What initially started off as like 2 kids and 1 adult living in that apartment became like 10 adults and 5 little kids under the age of 5 running around that apartment all hours of the day and night. Then this one guest in particular started coming over every night, really late at night, and he drove like a really decked out Dodge Charger that was made to sound like a monster truck. The base was decked out so you could hear it like 2 miles away. He would come park his car at 10:30 at night outside our apartment and just leave it running for the entire time that he was there. I'm talking hours. So he would come over at 10:30 and then leave his car running until like 2 o'clock in the morning with his music playing. So the car and the music would be bumping when we were trying to sleep. After like 2 weeks of him doing this, I just had enough and I went and caught him when he was going inside one night and I was like, dude, you think you could maybe turn your car off when you're here? I really don't understand why you leave it running for hours at a time, but like whatever. He was like, yeah, sure, whatever, no problem. He did so. At that point, I had to go to the office. I had no other choice. I was like, can you do anything about this? And turns out we were not the only ones ever complaining about this guy coming over and just leaving his car running with his bass bumping all night. Multiple residents had complained about him. So we were like, yes, we'll get it taken care of, no worries. They never did anything either. After that, my mental health plummeted. I was so depressed because of the noise. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat. I was constantly shouting, screaming, like domestic arguments. They were constantly having at least like 10 to 15 people in their apartment at all times. I was just like, you know what, our lease is up in 2 months. I gotta stick it out. We're gonna move out of here, get into a house. But then, fast forward to about a week and a half ago, it was about 1:30 in the morning on like a Wednesday, and I was up because I'm kind of a night owl. I was doing my nails, and all of a sudden, I just hear someone laying on the horn outside our apartment. And I'm talking like not letting up, just it sounded like someone fell asleep on the horn and was just so I went outside. All of our neighbors came outside except for the people that lived below us. The guy would not let off his horn, so I went down there and I was like, what are you doing? It is 1:30 in the fucking morning. And he was like, I'm not leaving here until I get my fucking money. Like, I need my money right now. Where's my fucking money? It was just screaming ballistic. And we were all like, what money? What are you talking about? Who are you talking about? Like, who are you here to see? He was like, him. He lives in that apartment. And he was pointing to the apartment below us. I didn't know who specifically he was talking about because there's so many people that went in and out of that apartment. But our neighbors just refused to come out. So he was getting angrier and angrier. Eventually, we had no choice but just to go inside and call the cops because he was not leaving. I did not want to be any more involved because I knew if someone was that angry and they were coming and looking for money at 1:30 in the morning, it could not be good. So this was kind of our tipping point. We were like, we don't feel safe here anymore. That guy could come back. I don't even know what they're involved in. I don't want to know. But we cannot live in that kind of situation. We have to get out now. If that wasn't bad enough, the next morning, some guy pulled up to the apartment. Again, was screaming at whoever was in the apartment from outside, was pounding on their door. Went inside for a second. It sounded like they had an altercation. He came back out with her kids and was like taking her kids away, putting them in his car, and he was screaming. He was like, you can't treat your fucking kids this way. You've got to feed your kids. I'm gonna call Child Protective Services on you. He called her a trifling ass bitch. She was screaming back at him. It was this whole entire mess. I was like, I can't do this anymore. We have to get out now. Like, I can't wait 2 more months. We literally started looking for houses that day, and we found our house. We're actually still paying rent on the apartment until October. Like, that is how badly I could not wait anymore. The complete 180 that my mental health has done in the short time that we've lived here is worth every extra penny we have to pay. And I'm aware that we are very privileged to be able to do that, to be able to pay rent on 2 places. And I know that not everyone has that luxury and they have to deal with shitty living situations every single day. And my heart goes out to you because I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, but like I will never, ever, ever live in an apartment ever again.
So apparently I have a neighbor who is a Karen and I'm just not realizing this. So I live 2 doors down from this lady and I've literally lived in this neighborhood for 5 years. I've never seen her in my life. And She had this really ugly old red van with no license plate, no tabs, with like all the tires, deflated. We moved here in 2020, so for 5 years, that van has just been sitting there, not in her driveway, but literally in the street. Just it's an eyesore. And I guess eventually one of the neighbors called it in, and I noticed maybe a few months ago that the lady was outside with a guy helping her move her van into her driveway because one of the neighbors called the van in that it doesn't have tabs. It doesn't. You need to either it's gonna get towed or you need to move it into your driveway or whatever. So oftentimes I film in my car because I have kids, and when I do my story times, I don't want my kids to hear my stories, or I don't want them to, I'll do videos during nap times, or I'll do videos when they're at daycare, whatever the case. Um, so maybe like a month ago, I was filming in the spot where that van used to be because the lighting was really good there, and I felt like a presence on my left side, and I looked up, and it's the lady literally standing in the doorway staring at me, and I rolled the window down, and I was like, can I help you? And she started like coming at me twisted, like low-key accusing me of being the one that called the van in, and I'm like, that van has been here for 5 years. If we were gonna call it in, we would have done it right when we moved in here. Like, I'm sorry that happened, but that has nothing to do with me. And then she starts talking my ear off, and she was actually like nice, and she seems lonely. So I sat there and shot the shit with her. But I was also trying to hurry up and make my TikTok videos. So I chit chatted with her for a second. Introduced myself after 5 years. She's like, "How old are your kids?" Because she sees us like walking in the neighborhood and stuff like that, whatever. So that was like a month ago. So literally just now I decided to film, and it's not in her driveway. It's on the street in front of her house. But like so many it's annoying when people park in front of your house, but I had told her when we chit chatted a month ago that like if you ever see my car in this spot, I'm not the one that called the fucking cops on your van, and just know that I'm making TikTok videos. And she was like totally fine with it or whatever. She's like, that's fine. Like, you making TikTok videos doesn't bother me. And I was just like, she was just like, I'm already having a hard time. And, whoever called in the van just made my life harder. And I'm just like, I'm really sorry. Like, that's really sad. Like, I had nothing to do with that van getting towed or whatever. But I noticed that now, between that month and now, she parks her normal car in the same spot where the van was. Like, she's literally, I think, going nuts in her head, playing mind games with herself that one of the neighbors is like out to get her. So she has been purposefully parking in the spot on the street and not in her driveway, where there's so much room in her driveway to park her car. Like, I literally think she's losing it. So just now, I went to go park in the spot where the van was. And by the way, it was towed like months ago. So I'm making my video, and again, I feel a presence on my left side. So I look over, and it's her. And I opened the door, and I was just like, "Hi, it's Megan." She's like, "Megan, I don't care." She's like, "I don't want you parked in front of here. I'm sitting in my house, and you're ruining my peace. You're ruining my peace by being parked here. So I'd rather you just move your car and like go down there." And let me tell you, the real me, oh, me and Karen would have gotten into it. We would have gotten into it, and believe me, how hard it was to restrain my ass from popping off on her. But I'm a healed version of myself, and also I saw that Netflix documentary about that Karen and her pew pew. Like, I don't play. People these days are fucking crazy, and it's not worth it to get into a fight with her, especially now that I have kids. Like, I used to get into fights with people about this. Like, I would stand up for myself and be like, "Bitch, this is a street. You don't own the street. You can't tell me where the fuck to park." But I decided to just go ahead and leave Karen alone because yeah, I don't need any bad blood with the neighbors. It's just it's not worth it, especially based off that Netflix documentary. I'm good.
Story time about how I found out my neighbor was a peeping Tom and creeping on me for over a year. So let me start this off, give you guys the scenery of the apartment. I moved into a beautiful little cutesy studio apartment in Mar Vista. If you live in LA, you know Mar Vista is like a little outskirt city close to Venice Beach. So that's where a lot of the Venetians who don't want to pay crazy rent moved to. I found this super cute apartment, got it myself, moved in, okay? Now, let me start this. Let me just set up the scenery. My front door, my neighbor's front door, okay? We literally share a hallway. My first red flag with this neighbor, on the first day I moved in, I was talking to my mama, and I guess like my front door was cracked. And I said to her, I was like, oh dang, ma, I gotta go get some water because I don't have no water. And so that was that. Why, when I opened my front door, was there a big old gallon of water and red solo cups sitting next to my front door? We should have this as a red flag, but we didn't. And as we're like seeing the water, I see my neighbor's front door closing. And I was like, oh, thank you. Like, I yelled it out. Obviously, like, I'm not a dick. And I was moving into a brand new apartment. My energy was high. I didn't think anything of it. And he goes, like, he, like, stuck his hand out the door or something. I didn't actually see his face. Now, over time, I'm chilling. I'm not paying attention because I'm in my new apartment. But also, let me tell you guys, I was a live streamer, like a daily live streamer at this point. I was doing regular streaming and also spicy streaming, okay? Now, in my studio apartment, I had this big window that would look out into the courtyard. And this big window, obviously, I wanted that light, but I wasn't gonna just have my blinds open with nothing over it. So I bought a privacy film to go over it, and I made sure you couldn't see in or really see out. Okay? So sometimes I would live stream in this little nook that I created because I liked to meditate in it. I love the sun on my face. I charged my crystals. I did my little witchy shit, all in this corner. Okay? Mind you, there's a privacy film. So I would live stream, and then like as I'm live streaming, I kept seeing him like coming in and out of his apartment, and he would like pace in front of this window whenever I would sit there and live stream. I shit you not. And I was like, what the fuck is this nigga doing? Like, go in the house. But also, mind you, he was like a chain smoker. So I didn't really pay too much into it. I was like, oh, maybe he's smoking, but a lot of times he wasn't smoking. And it got to a point where like even my viewers would see like a shadow go over my face. They'd be like, what is that? I'm like, oh, it's just my creepy neighbor walking back and forth. And they'd be like, girly pop, what? Like it became a thing where I would be like, oh, gift me every time the creepy neighbor walks by. Like that's how weird it was. So one day I come out my apartment and I realized this motherfucker put his plants underneath my window. And I was like, what is he doing? Like, what is he on? Like, no. I come out and I'm like, Ma, why does fool got his plants next to my window? She's like, if you don't move that shit, like, my mama don't play. I moved the plants, okay? Boom. Now at this time, I also had a very like consistent routine, which I probably shouldn't have, but whatever. I would bike to work sometimes up until my mom gifted me a car. So obviously I stopped the biking. So one day I'm coming out of my apartment and all of a sudden I hear someone call my name. I was like, who the fuck is calling my name? I don't even know none of my neighbors. What do you mean? And it's his creepy ass. Like, this is the first time I ever laid eyes on him. He's so creepy looking. Like, I might even insert the picture at the end of this incident of what happened, just so y'all can see how creepy he is. Turn around, it's this fool. Why did he ask me, can I buy your bike? My bike? What do you want with my bike? You guys, my bike was a bright turquoise beach cruiser with pink lights and a big basket with flowers on it. What does your grown ass want with my girly ass bike? Like, what? Obviously, I told him no. And what about my day? Now, if you know anything about beach city apartments, a lot of these apartments don't have air conditioning just because they don't really get that hot. And they expect you guys to just leave your windows open so you can get the nice natural breeze. Now, in my bathroom had like a foggy window. And obviously, in your bathroom, you don't want mold to grow. So I would leave the window open. I had two windows facing the street. Mind you, both of these windows were completely covered. Like, they were covered by thick hedges and olive trees. Like, there's no way anybody could be looking in them or even, like, hiding in them, okay? So the bathroom window, I would leave it cracked open just so I could have like air circulation, and it was completely covered. Didn't think anything of it until I started having nightmares about my bathroom. Like literally, I would wake up in the middle of the night, staring at my bathroom, thinking somebody was gonna come in through it. Like I cannot. So creepy neighbor is just creepy neighbor. I would always hear him coming in and out of the apartment. Literally, his front door is right there, but I would also hear him going in and out of the front gate. The front gate was right adjacent to my apartment, so I would literally hear that bitch slam anytime someone would come out of it. But mind you, all my neighbors worked, so if I was at home, this nigga was at home because he didn't work. So let me get y'all the crazy last bit of the story. One day, I'm on my gym girl shit. I was working out like every single day. Sometimes I would go either early in the morning or I would go super late at night, just because I hated packed, crowded gyms. So one day, I get ready to go to the gym. It's maybe like 11 o'clock, and I leave all my lights on. All my windows were closed, but I was on the phone. So I go in my car. My car, mind you, is on that same, like I can see my car from one of my windows in my apartment. I'm in my car. Something told me to leave all my lights on. I'm in my car windows are completely tinted, so you can't see if I'm in it or not unless the car is on. I'm in my car finishing up a phone call, and the person I was on the phone with knew about the creepy neighbor, funny enough. And I was like, oh, here comes the creepy neighbor, because I see his ass coming out the front gate, right? And he's doing his creepy stuff, like he's pacing, like he's just pacing for some reason. So the next thing he does, this motherfucker walks around to the side of my window, and then he goes into the fucking bushes. And I'm watching this. I'm like, what the fuck is he doing? Like, what are you doing? He goes into the first set of bushes that cover my bathroom window, and he's looking down to see if the window was open. Obviously, it wasn't because I wasn't at home, but I was like, what the fuck? He still didn't come out. This motherfucker then proceeds to go into the next window, that space that's inside my like studio area, and he just is like in there. I was like, what the fuck is he doing? Like, why are you in my bushes? Why are you in my bruh? I was so in shock that I couldn't even like film this. I should have, but I was too in shock. And I was like, am I losing my fucking mind, or is this nigga in my bushes? So he comes out finally, and he realizes my windows aren't open. And he goes back into the fucking front gate. And I'm on the phone. I'm like, this nigga was just in my windows. I was so creeped out at this point, but I should have called the police, and I didn't, because I wanted to make sure like I wasn't going crazy. So the next day, after I get home from work, I call my mom. I'm like, Ma, I need you to watch my window on FaceTime while I pretend to act normal in this apartment, and tell me if this nigga comes in my window. So I set up my phone on FaceTime. My mama is down because she want to see what the fuck will happen. I'm just pretending to be normal, and I left my bathroom window cracked. Bruh, my mom was absolutely mortified. She would literally, I had my AirPod in, she'd be like, oh my God, Nigel, he's in the bushes, he's in the window, he's in the bushes, he's in the window, oh my God, Nigel, he's looking in the window. Like, she was freaking the fuck out. Now, mind you, I'm trying to pretend to be normal, and I'm freaking out too. My mom pulls up, and he like skateboarded out the fucking bushes. So obviously, me and my mom are freaked out. I didn't really want to be there alone. She stayed with me over an hour to see if he would come back, so we can make sure he was there when we called the police. This nigga never came back. So I ended up even having my little at the time come stay with me that night, just to make sure nothing happened. That night, I blew up my apartment management's phone, emails, screaming at them that one, they needed to cut down the fucking bushes that were in front of my windows, because my neighbor across the hall has been hiding in them, and two, warning them that obviously there's a peeping Tom in the building. I hate the way that my apartment management handled this, because one, I feel like they weren't taking me seriously until I started getting out of character. And then two, I'm pretty sure that they warned my neighbor that I was going to get law enforcement involved. So that morning, I go to work, come home. My mom's waiting on me to come home so we can call the police, and she'll be there. We called the police. Two melanated officers showed up and they were about to arrest him. So they go door knocking. This boy's family members open the door and they go, "Oh, he's not here." Bitch, what? That nigga's always there. It's not like he works. What do you mean? And I'm so grateful these officers at the time were taking me seriously because they were really about to just lock his ass up. They could tell that I was clearly shaken up. I was clearly bothered by the situation. And they even looked at like the bushes area. Y'all, remember how I told y'all he was a chain smoker? Tell me why in the dirt, in the bushes, there was cigarette packs, lighters, trash. Like this nigga was camped out in my windows. Mind you, I moved in 2022. This situation I didn't find out until about towards no actually yes. This situation I didn't find out about until maybe towards the end of 2023. So fuck. Seeing that this nigga literally left like all his stuff in my bushes from the time he was down there creeping was so invasive and mortifying. So I'm like, what has he seen? What has he heard? What has he like been doing? God fucking knows. And even worse, the officer shines a flashlight on the screen of my bathroom window. Bitch, why was there dry white stuff on my screen? Dry white stuff. And I'm just like, oh my god, I'm like so grossed out. Officers come back to me, they're saying he's not here. We're gonna file a police report anyway, and just call us when you see him again. It was a Friday. I was like, I'm not staying here. You got me fucked up. So that weekend, I stayed at my mom's house. Monday, I had to go back to my apartment to get some clothes for work that day. And I'm praying like I don't bump into him, I don't see him. I go in my apartment, get dressed, get ready, and as I'm getting ready to walk out the front door, I hear his front door open and close. I was like, oh my fucking god, if this is him, I'm gonna freak out. I peek out my window that looks into the courtyard, and shit you not, I see him just standing there. I'm like, bruh. I immediately called 911 and my mom let the police know that I have a police report filed on this guy, and they told me to call back immediately when I see him again. I'm on the phone with my mom in the bathtub waiting for the police because I didn't want him to hear me. I didn't want to let him to even see me. I didn't want him to know I was there because I wanted his ass to get arrested. Took 2 hours for the police to show up. When they finally show up, my mom, she had been parked outside the whole time waiting for the police to get there, making sure that the creepy neighbor hadn't left. Police get there, it's an Asian guy and a Caucasian guy. All weekend. And she came this morning to change clothes and get ready for work. And of course he hates me. But they claimed he wasn't here Friday. I don't know what his real name is. He keeps lying about his name. So the police said his name was Jesus Flores. He told us his name was Tito. He told management his name was Freddie. So I don't know if it's Freddie, Tito, or Jesus. I don't interact with him because he's always just been odd, and he would just be weird doing shit by my windows. I just already thought it was weird, but the fact that this window, that window, and every single window. That's my apartment. My mom, it gets to them first. She's like, he's in there. I know he's in there. Police told us to call y'all immediately when we see him again, and that he would be arrested. These niggas wasn't taking us serious from the jump, and that pissed me off. They go knock on the door. His family answers again, talking about he's not there. My mom went the fuck off. She's like, he's there. He hasn't left. Tell them to bring his ass out right now. And so eventually he comes out. His pants were undone. His hair is wet, like he just got out of the shower or something. But he was there. So police are questioning him, asking him like, hey man, what's going on? Da 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 da. And I'm like, What are y'all doing? Why are y'all questioning him? I just showed you the police report. Lock his ass up. They're questioning him, and then one of the other officers comes to question me, asking me like all these questions, like interrogating me as if I'm the one who did something wrong. I'm like, if you don't get out my face and go get this creepy ass nigga ASAP. So I'm getting pissed off at this point, and then eventually they put him in cuffs. Mind you, while he's still in the cuffs, he's like, I haven't done anything, I didn't do anything, I was never by her window, da 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 da. Mind you, I showed these officers all the stuff by my window, showed him the cigarettes that are above his front door that he chain smokes. So the officers put him in cuffs, still talking to him for maybe like 10 minutes. And I'm just waiting to see like what they're gonna do. Then all of a sudden, I hear the cuffs come off, and this fucker starts skateboarding around our courtyard. And then so one of the sergeants comes and he goes, well, we can't really arrest him because it's a misdemeanor and all this other stuff and da 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 da. I'm like, bruh, no, because this is not what the officers yesterday. This is not the type of time they were on. Even the officers from Friday, not yesterday, their sergeant came too. So they were serious. Friday, Monday, they played in my face. And to see this nigga skateboarding around, acting like nothing's gonna happen, like hee hee ha ha, I'm good. I was livid. No, you think I'm gonna just let you get away with that easily? Fuck no. So I showed my ass. I caused the biggest scene in the neighborhood. Yelled to the top of my lungs his full name. Made sure everybody came out on the street to hear what I was saying. Said this motherfucker's a peeping tom. You're a creep. Da 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 da. Like I was livid. And even worse, my apartment management kept blowing up my phone, and I got mad at them because I'm like, y'all niggas told him. Y'all must have told him that I was gonna get law enforcement involved Friday so that he wouldn't be home allegedly. Now on Monday, it's all shits and giggles and nobody's taking anything serious. They cut the bushes down, but they had still not taken it serious. They weren't gonna kick them out or anything. They didn't do anything. So I was like, y'all got to move me out today. Get me another apartment and get me out of this bitch today. I'm not staying here. I just paid rent on top of that. Get me out of here and give me another apartment. Within 2 hours, I moved and packed up my apartment to a whole different neighborhood. And it really broke my heart because I didn't even want the new apartment I had moved into. Not only was it much smaller, nothing about it had the energy that I was emitting in this other place. Like I was so heartbroken because I loved my apartment so much, and the fact that I had to give it up because of this fucktard was really just infuriating. This whole situation was so upsetting. Detectives and police never got back to me about the police report I filed about taking action against him. And to this day, he's probably still skateboarding around. But I had to get that off my chest. Wanted to share that story. And I have to say, this just made me way more aware of my surroundings and my routine. Just because someone's your neighbor doesn't mean they're your friend. They could literally be the worst, creepiest person on the planet, and you don't know. So, to my girlies who live alone, stay aware of your surroundings and always keep something on you to defend yourself. You're fucking lying. You're lying.
Okay, talk about my crazy neighbor with me while I make my kid lunch. So it started when we moved in. Her front door is right behind my bedroom window. And so every night once we moved in, she was just screaming all the time. Yelling at her kid, yelling at her husband. Let's talk about the time that me and my friends snuck out of the state, lied to my parents, and went to a rave. So me and my best friend at the time, we had planned to go to a rave after school out of state with the person I was dating at the time and like a couple friends. Me and my best friend, we had created a lie to my parents that I was gonna go stay the night at her grandmother's house, and then we had told her grandmother that she was gonna go stay the night at my parents' house. So obviously we're not staying the night at either house, but each one thinks we're gonna, you get it. After school, we told them this lie. We went to my house and we told my parents, and then we were like, oh, we're just gonna like go out, we're gonna get some snacks, and then we're gonna go to her grandmother's house. We didn't go get snacks. We went and got cute ass rave outfits, and we then went to the person that I I was dating at the time's house to like get ready and everything. This plan seemed kind of foolproof. My parents never really checked in wherever I was going, and her grandmother had never like checked in with my parents. I don't even think they had each other's number, to be completely honest. And so we were like, we got this, it's whatever. And so we go, we get ready, we're all cute, right? We have our tickets, we're heading out of state. So, mind you, we're from Massachusetts. The rave itself was in Rhode Island. And if you know anything about that distance, for us, it was about probably like 2 hours, top of Massachusetts. So we drive 2 hours all the way to Rhode Island. When we get to Rhode Island, my significant other at the time had a great idea to take rave vitamins. So the group decided to do that. Was that a good idea? Fuck no. We do that maybe like 30 minutes before the rave. We drive to the parking garage that we're going to park at for the rave, and my not so bright idea, and this matters at the end of the story, in my cute rave outfit, I don't have room for my phone, obviously, and I don't want my significant other to hold it because he's crazy and he'll probably, I don't know. Regardless, I leave it in the car. I leave my phone in the car. So that's issue number 1. We get into the rave. Honestly, everything's fine. Prior to leaving my phone in the car, I hadn't heard from my mom. My friend's grandmother hadn't said anything weird. Like, we were in the clear, right? We're in the clear. We're not in the clear. We go, we have a great time at this rave. Like, the best time of our life. We're singing, we're dancing, we're living the best life we possibly think we can in our senior year of high school. And then the rave ends. The rave ends. And this is when things get dicey. So we walk back to the car, still on cloud 9 from our vitamins, having a good time, not thinking absolutely anything, right? We're going to have the rest of the good night. We're going to probably go out somewhere. We're going to, hang out with all these new people that we met. Everything's great. Everything's fine, right? Wrong. We get to the parking garage, open the car door, and there's my phone. Right where I left it, right where I shouldn't have left it, because everything from here on out could have been avoided if I simply had my phone. Maybe not, but if I had my phone. So I open the door, I pick up my phone. The amount of calls and text messages from my mom, from my dad, from my brother, because no one knows where we are. No one knows where we are. And why would they? Because we're in a different state. Go to the next part. So here's the end of the story about going to a rave, skipping states, and lying to my parents. So we had just found my phone, well, didn't find it, but got back to my phone in the car. And my parents are going off. I have voicemails. My friend's grandmother's calling and texting because my friend also left her phone in the car. We're really stupid at this point. No one was sharing locations at this time. No one was like on Life 360. That wasn't like going on at this time. So they didn't know where we were. They had no idea. My mother, of all days, reached out to my friend's grandmother and was like, hey, how are the girls doing? She's like, what do you mean? What do you mean, how are the girls doing? You tell me, they're at your house. No, they're not. So they're going back and forth like, oh my God, she said that they were going here. Well, no, they said that they were at your house. We're not at either of your houses. We are out of the state. Now I'm freaking out. I'm listening to these voice messages. My mom's going off. My dad's pretty calm, which is not out of the question for him, but it's always like that eerie, calm vibe of like the parent, like, I'm not mad, I'm disappointed, call me back. I am surprised that a police search party wasn't out for me because that's also my parents. They're those type of people. And they didn't do that this time though. So I'm freaking out. And mind you, my vitamins aren't helping me in this situation. If anything, they made it worse. So I'm talking to my significant other and I'm like, what do we do? How do we handle this? My friend, she couldn't give a shit less, to be completely honest, because like her parents didn't really care anyway, and it was like her grandma wasn't really gonna like do anything. My parents were the ones that were gonna get us in trouble. So I'm like, listen, you need to call them. You need to call them. I can't talk to them right now. So my significant other takes my phone, calls my mom, or calls my dad. I honestly forget. I wasn't like there. I wasn't in the right mind. But mind you, he's calling them on the way to a club. We're on our way to a club. And I was like, just tell them that like we're safe and we're okay. So calls. The conversation maybe was like, I don't know, 2 seconds long. He goes, we're fine. We're going to be heading home soon. Didn't say where we were, didn't say what we were doing, just said that we were safe and that we were going to be heading back. At this point, we're walking into a club. I'm not having a good time anymore because, I'm still on my vitamins and freak the fuck out at this point. We're in this club for maybe less than an hour because at this point the night is ruined and no one, like, I'm not having a good time. My friend's like kind of not really having a good time. We're tired. We want to go home. So it's like 3 in the morning. We drive back to my significant other's house. We stay there for the night because I'm terrified to go home. And finally, in the morning, we go home. My parents are like, what the fuck was that? What was that? Where were you? What were you doing? All of these questions. So I tell them partially the truth. I say, yeah, I was at a concert. I did leave the state. And no, I didn't want to tell you because you would have said no. So I just did it anyway. And it's kind of funny now looking back. The consequence to that was me losing my phone for like a week. And maybe after like 2 or 3 days, like my mom gave it back to me because she's like, well, I need to text you. So here, have it. And then we had to like break leaves or something. It was really stupid. And we honestly couldn't have cared less because that was not the last time. That was actually the first time that we did something a little like crazy like that. And it was the start to a great, not a great senior year, but like a very eventful one. I will say the least. But yeah, that was the time that I did lie to my parents, hopped states, went to a rave, did some vitamins, and lived to tell the tale. They didn't kill me. I thought they were going to. It was a lot less punishment than I thought was going to happen. But yeah.
Okay, I need you guys to hear this story because it's crazy. So Monday, today's Thursday, I'm on a walk and I have my AirPods in, and this guy is walking by me and he's signaling me to take my AirPods out. So I do, and he's like, hey, I think you're really cute. Can I get your number? And I was like taken back. I'm like, kind of random, but okay, slay. This guy has confidence. Give him my number. He's like, I just moved here from New York, blah, blah, blah. He was like, I can tell you're busy. I'll just text you. I'm touring apartments. So then we're like kind of texting. He's like, the place in Venice turned out to be terrible. Got a place in Hollywood Hills. I'm like, okay, this guy seems normal, fun. He knows what he's doing. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry that happened. He's like, it's cool. Everything happens for a reason. Let's meet at the Georgian tomorrow. I can do 6:30. So I'm like, okay, cool. See you there. Guys, I woke up this morning to this text. I don't know if you're ready because I was not. I have good and bad news. In a twist of turn and events, my neighbor and I have fallen for each other. And we decided we should be together. You guys, he moved on Tuesday. Today's Thursday. They made things official last night. Leave me open to find who is perfect, you guys. This all happened in not even 48 hours. He moved Tuesday night, and it's Thursday morning, and he's texting me this. So yeah, I'm traumatized. I'm scared. He's blocked. He also I didn't even put his name in. He's random. So yeah, that's what happened to me this week.
Story time about how my ex-girlfriend accidentally fingered her friend on Halloween. So my girlfriend, at the time I'll call her Lucy, Lucy had hit my...
Honestly, would have liked that with my husband.
That was the time that I did lie.
About his childhood or any personal questions about him before I was born or his parents, in order to steer me away from ever asking him questions like that, he would tell me the most egregious and horrible things that ever happened to him or his family members. And whatever you're thinking is like horrible and egregious, just double it. I'm telling you, I have secondhand trauma from a young age because of this. Now, as much as my dad would try to steer me away from ever asking questions, I still still never got the hint. And about a year after I asked him about his parents, I asked him again, what can you tell me about my grandma? I was more interested in her. She seemed like she had an interesting story, even though I didn't really fully understand what schizophrenia was at the time. But I asked him, and he says, you know what? Schizophrenia runs in the family, and it skips generations. And I kind of did the little math in my head, and I went, am I going to have schizophrenia? And he went, yep. Now this man gaslit me so well that I was convinced that I was going to have schizophrenia. I was so convinced. Anytime we got into arguments or like little things happened, he would be like, it's because you're going to be schizophrenic. I know it. I have to get the schizophrenia out of you. Like, he would do random things in terms of like discipline, and he would kind of move it into like it's because I'm trying to get the schizophrenia out of you. What? Now, this whole like, you're schizophrenic, you're going to be schizophrenic thing lasted until I was about 12, and it kind of died off. And then it resurfaced when I was 14. Because when I was 14, my dad became convinced that I was on drugs. And he was so convinced that I did weekly drug tests. And not only did I have to do these drug tests every single week, I had to have the bathroom door open and my mom had to watch me do the drug test. Right? Pee in the little cup? Yeah. 14 having to do that. Never mind that. Not only was I on drugs and I was going to be schizophrenic. No. Now I'm going to unalive him. This man started Googling on the internet about other cases where children were unaliving either other children or other adults, and he became convinced that I was going to become one of those children. And not only was he just like keeping this to himself, no. He'd have to come into my room and tell me about the cases and tell me exactly what they did. I think he was projecting. Of course, anytime that this would happen, though, when he would come in and tell me about these cases, I would always break down into tears, and I would try to convince my dad, like, no, I would never do that. Why do you think I would do that? And so it would become this kind of like emotional battle between me and him, where he would say that I'd hurt him so much over my childhood that he couldn't trust me, and then I'm over here being like, but I'm just a teenager. I'm just a child. Like, I wouldn't do that. Why do you think I would do that? Now, this whole thing kind of turns around from him gaslighting me into believing these things to him now having gaslit himself. Because we moved. We moved from our apartment to a house. House, wonderful. I love living in a house. I'd never lived in a house before. So this was great. We moved when I was like 15, 16. So wonderful. I was thinking fresh start. We could have a fresh start as a family. I could rebuild my relationship with my parents because my relationship was horrible at this point. We moved into this house. Now the thing was, growing up my whole life, we were a very gun-heavy household. We had a decent amount. Before we moved, we were in the single digits. When we moved, we had like double digits. I know for sure it was in the double digits. Now the thing with this was we only had one safe. And instead of buying another safe, no, because this man was too stingy to buy another one, he would stash them all around the house. And then not only would he stash them, he would then come into my room, tell me about a case where a kid did something to another adult or another kid, and then he would be like, oh, just so you know, I moved them all around. Just want you to know. And then a couple months would go by and he would do it all over again, and he'd move everything around, and then he'd come back into my room where I'm peacefully doing literally anything else, and he'd be like, I just moved everything. But I know you're gonna unalive me in my sleep. And he started convincing himself so hard that I was going to wake up in the middle of the night and do something to him that he changed his motherfucking sleep schedule. He changed jobs. He changed jobs and his sleep schedule so he could be up at night. And this whole thing, I found out about him changing his sleep schedule months after he did it. Because I, peacefully sleeping in my bed, wake up at like 1 or 2 in the morning and like, I'm thirsty. I need some water. And I get up, I go out of my room, like, why is the living room light on? And I go in there, who's sitting on the couch? My dad. What does he say to me when I walk into the living room, all groggy and like parched? He goes, "This is why I stay up at night. To make sure you don't do anything." I was so confused. I literally was like, okay. And I turned around, I got my water, and I went back to sleep. What was I supposed to do? I was so confused. And at this point, I was already 17, and I was about ready to leave. I was so excited to run away from home. And yeah, that, oh, I just remember it was just a doozy of a time to live at home with him.
Okay, let me tell you about one of the craziest dating stories I've ever experienced. I really, to this day, cannot believe that this happened to me. I'm truly shocked and appalled. Anywho, so let me set the scene. It is December. It is California. I met this guy in a dating app. He lives an hour away. I'm a Christian and I go to a church that I have people love or people hate, okay? That's basically the gist of it. Sorry, someone is backing up directly in the spot next to me and that's a little bit awkward, I cannot lie to you. Anywho, so, hello America. We go on a first date. We go to Christmas lights. How cute. We're just like walking around. We get hot chocolate, and it's a great first date. It's very normal. It's very chill. It's very wonderful. And then, you know, I'm very upfront about a lot of things in dating, and he was on board with all of them. And I was like, oh, period. That's wonderful. He drove an hour to see me. You know, planned the date, like, got a babysitter for his son. Did I say that he had a son? I don't know if I did, but got a babysitter and like was like, no, I want to take you on a date, and was very intentional. And I was like, oh my stars in heaven, this is amazing. This literally never happens for me. Nobody ever puts in effort. It's great. It's great. And then we go on a second date, and the second date is he brings his child. And that's really crazy to me. Like the second date, we met on a dating app. Like I didn't know you before, and so it's just a little bit awkward. No, not awkward, but like that is really crazy that you would do that. You know, but not my circus, not my monkeys, and certainly not my place to judge. So, he starts like acting a little bit weird, and I was like, okay, I think I know what's coming, and I get it. You know, I understand. And he has to call me, and I was like, of course. And I was like in Target, and he's like, well, listen, I just know you find me really attractive, and like, I wouldn't want to, you know. And I said, oh, you can stop it right there, buddy. You can stop it right there. You don't ever have to worry about that. You don't ever have to worry about that. No. I know how to control myself, and mainly, sir, you're 6'5". That's what's really attractive about you. I know that makes me sound like a terrible person, but it's my honest truth. And then he decides, he's like, you know, actually, I don't think I want, hello America, I don't think I want my son raised around this church. And I was like, 100%, that's totally your prerogative. Like, you are raising your son the best way you know how. I get it. I don't want to stand in your way. I would never ask you to do anything different. And he's like, oh, okay, cool. I think he expected a little bit more of a fight, and I'm not going to do that. I'm so sorry. Especially when you're using your child as the way out. Like, that's your kid. You raise them how you want them. And then later that night, the next morning, middle of the night, I get multiple voice memos. Do you know what was in those voice memos? Literally what's going on. Do you know what was in those voice memos? Tears. Yeah, he sent me multiple voice memos, multiple minutes long of him crying. I actually do think I want you. I think I do. well, sir, I do hate to break you down. It's completely off the table. And I'm blocking you on everything, and I'm terrified. I'm terrified. I don't need that kind of behavior. And then, I think this year or last year, he found my TikTok, and the richest of all rich, he commented on one of them. He's like, you deserve a wonderful man who, and I said, oh, buddy, he didn't recognize me. At least I don't think he did. And I said, that is crazy coming from you. Crazy coming from you. And my shorty was commenting that on a video. But I blocked him, so I think the comment's gone. But insane. Truly insane. Craziest dating story I think I've ever experienced. Well, there might have been another crazier one, but I don't know, it was a roller coaster.
7 years ago, I got married to my husband, and last February, I had an affair. A lot of you guys are asking me why I had an affair, and I think that that's not the right question to ask, because there's not a reason that I had an affair. The question is more like, how did that happen? How did somebody go from being somebody who wouldn't do something like that to having an affair? And I think there's a lot that goes into that, and it can't be told in one reel. And I'm not going to do a timeline of what happened and how I got there, but I will give a little bit of a high level perspective of what happened and how I got to the point that I had an affair. So I am very into remodeling my home. I have always been into the art of taking something that is not beautiful and making it beautiful. And when I got married to my husband, he moved into my house. It was my home already. And that love and joy that I got continued, and I love doing it. And I would always try to recruit him to help me do my projects. He is a welder, and so he was capable of doing the things that I needed help with. But that became a problem for him because he felt like I wanted too much from him. It became a point of tension between us. Like, I wanted him to build things and I wanted him to do things for me, and I would have these big grandeur visions, and he would be the one that I would go to because I wanted him to make it happen. And that became a problem. He felt like this has been an actual conversation that him and I have had. He felt like I treated him like a worker, which I didn't feel like that. I felt like he was my husband and he was capable of doing these things, and I wanted him to help me with my visions. And so we came to a point where the tension that it caused for me to go to him became too much. And I decided that I was going to find somebody else to help me create these visions that I had in my head. That meant I was going to hire somebody to come in and build my dreams for me. It wasn't going to be my husband, it was going to be somebody else. And that's where it all started. 7 years ago in February, I got married. And last February, my affair was discovered. This is part 2 of the how. A lot of you have asked why, but I think the question is more appropriate of how it happened. So after I hired this person to come in and help me with my visions at the time, the particular project I was working with was remodeling my kitchen. I'm very hands-on, and I was involved. Like, I was there with the person who was remodeling my kitchen, and I told him what I wanted, and he made everything that I wanted happen. And a friendship evolved over time with this person who was working in my kitchen, working with this project, and we started talking on the job. We started developing a friendship that was really refreshing in my mind because it was something that I didn't have with my husband. And I quite honestly would have liked that with my husband. But a lot of times I felt like my husband just would kind of close me out when I tried to have conversations with him. Like I said, I do not and am in no way trying to be a victim in this. And I know that I'm not a victim. And I want to be clear that I understand that I take full responsibility. But I do want to say also that there were things that led to my vulnerability in this situation. And the fact that a man came in and wanted to hear my thoughts and wanted to listen to my dreams, and even though I was paying him, make them come true, it was very appealing and attractive. And that was something that I was definitely missing in my marriage. So it was alluring. And I was very susceptible to that. And so one thing led to another, and I had an affair with this man who was helping me remodel my house. We went from remodeling my house, my kitchen, to he started helping me remodel other things. Then him and I and another one of my friends got into a business where we got a house that we completely remodeled together. And it was just, it was like, it was a connection that I desperately wanted with my husband and didn't have. And somebody else came in and offered me like a bouquet of roses, all these things that I wasn't getting from my husband. And that's how easy it was to have an affair. And like I said before, I'm sorry that I can't not smile in this. It's not because I feel a lack of remorse or regret. It's just because it's a matter of fact. I mean, these things happen so easily without even wanting it, without seeking it out. And honestly, I intend to talk a lot more deeply about small things that transpired over the course of my marriage, and things that I feel like could have helped avoid this situation in hopes to maybe benefit somebody else in the future. A lot of things that I learned for myself, because I definitely would never want this to happen again to myself in any future relationship. I would never, ever in a million years want to ever do that to somebody else. But that is the high level of what happened and how it happened. And it was actually quite easy to tell the truth. When you are somebody who wants that and you're not getting it from your husband, if somebody else comes and offers you that, it's like offering a cold glass of water to somebody who is stranded in the desert. It's very hard to turn down. And that was me, unfortunately. And to the detriment of my marriage, to the detriment of my husband's happiness, I completely blew up his life, and he didn't deserve what I did to him. I just want to be clear, and I haven't said it now, but I want to say it now. My husband, my ex-husband, is a very good man. He is fun, and he's kind, and he's honest, and is a very, very honorable person. We had problems in our marriage, of course, and I was not getting the things that I wanted from him, that I desired from him. But that didn't take away the fact that he was a good man. And I hurt him in ways that he will always carry with him. And I will always have to live with that. But that does not take away from the fact that he is a good man, and he did not deserve what I did to him. So just, that's what happened, for those of you who are curious. And I will go into more depth about some of the problems we had and how they happened, and, you know, things that might be of use to others, that I feel like, you know, conversations I have with myself while I'm taking showers and stuff like that. But that's the high level. That's the gist of it. If you want to follow along, you're more than welcome. A lot of you guys have asked if I have children, and yes, I do have children. I have 2 children with my ex-husband, and I also have a son who I had from prior to my marriage. I was never married before, but I had a child. I had a son who I raised from birth. My son, my previous child, I raised him from birth completely independently on my own with no support. And I think that plays a big role that I'm going to talk about in the dynamic of my relationship with my husband. I think that I was very, very independent coming into a marriage, and I was the provider and the protector. And I think that a man is supposed to be the provider and the protector, and I didn't relinquish that role to him from the beginning. And I think that that played a huge role in the disconnect that him and I had. He moved into my house when we got married. It was my house. I was the one who was more financially stable than him. So going into the marriage, I think that it was kind of a losing battle for him from the beginning, because he didn't have the financial stability to pick me up and carry me away like a knight in shining armor. So I still had to do that. But every man wants to feel like he is the one taking care of her and being the provider and the protector. I think most men do. I mean, some men probably want a woman to come in and provide and protect for them, but the kind of men that I would be interested in, that I would want to provide and protect me, but he wasn't in a position where he could do that. And I was in the position that I had been doing that for so long, for so many years, that this is a whole new video that I will talk about. I think this is a huge, important dynamic of the whole failure of my marriage from very early on. So this is a topic for another. Get ready with me while I tell you how I got fired from my job after 6 weeks. So to set the scene, I worked for a catering company that also owned 2 wedding venues downstate, and they hired me as their marketing director and social media manager. It was a hybrid position, so kind of make your own schedule, work in office whenever, work from home primarily, and go to events on the weekends to shoot content. I guess I should start with the interview. So it started with a phone interview. That went well. They scheduled me for an in-person interview the following week, and they hired me on the spot, which is a red flag for sure. Later that night, he is the owner, my boss, or he was my boss, the one who hired me. He had emailed me a job proposal, not a contract, a proposal. I never signed anything. But in the interview, he said, I understand that you don't have any hospitality experience, because I didn't. I don't have any wedding industry experience, catering, nothing like that. He's like, I understand you don't have any hospitality experience, and that's okay. I'm not expecting any solid progress until about 3 months in. Okay, we can do that. So I started, I think, the following week. Another big red flag that was said, I believe it was either in the interview or on the first day. He was talking to me about the girl that they hired for this position before me that didn't work out. I think it was like a year prior. He gave me her name, which is awful. Literally gave me her full name. Told me all these bad things about her, like
oh, she just like didn't get it. I feel like I had to hold her hand through things. It was like 3 months in and she hadn't made a single post yet. She just like definitely took advantage of the position, blah, blah, blah. I thought that was very inappropriate for him to be saying that to me. And it was multiple times that he was talking about this poor girl. And his other staff would talk about her to me too, which I just didn't really like that. He said to me, I don't want to hold your hand through this process. I just want you to do it. I want you to just take the initiative to do things. Okay, well, here's the thing. You have to give me, I understand like not wanting to hold my hand through things, but maybe a daily task list would be nice. There was no daily task list ever. I was kind of just thrown to the wolves in every aspect. So there was no like expectation of me. I didn't even know what I was supposed to be doing, to be honest. I was just kind of doing what I thought would be helpful. So I'm like thinking of marketing campaigns. I'm thinking of content ideas. I'm constantly on Pinterest. One task he did actually assign to me was to scout out a new website developer. So I spent a lot of time doing that, making calls with website developers and website designers and things like that. And he never liked anybody that I came up with, but that's besides the point. That was like a big red flag for me. Was I had no idea what I was supposed to be doing. I was just doing what I thought I should. And he always said to me, I don't want to hold your hand through things, so why would I ask him, you know? Their social media accounts were pretty underperforming. They didn't have a lot of followers on any of their accounts, so I would propose ideas of ways to grow their accounts, just like with my own experience on ways I've grown my accounts in the past, like my boutique account, my personal account. I kind of know what it takes to gain a little bit of a following. And he never liked any of my ideas. He would always shoot them down. He would always say, this isn't a documentary. We're not trying to document anything. We're just trying to create good content of food, like boring, just like luxury food content that nobody's going to give a shit about, whatever. So he never liked any of my ideas, which is totally fine. I think one of the big things that made him want to fire me was I drove an hour and a half downstate to one of their venues to do like behind the scenes kitchen content of them plating food. And I took the time to do that, edited the videos for hours, sent it to him, hey, what do you think? And he just like literally went off how much he didn't like it, how we don't need to be documenting what goes on in the kitchen, and like literally just like wasn't going about it in a nice way. And I'm like, okay, whatever, that's totally fine, I can take that. But yeah, so he didn't like that. Like he was just very nitpicky about things too. But it's hard because if you don't have a solid expectation for me, I don't know what to give you. So I can't really read your mind. So I'm just trying out a lot of different things to see what he likes. From into the wolves, he would send me to these events without any instruction. Just go shoot content. Okay, that could mean a lot of things. Whatever. Moving on. I think what really did it for him was, so then I decided there was a shared folder of approved photos sent to me by other directors. Like, so other people have taken these photos, they're in a shared album to use for social media, website, whatever. So I took a photo that was in that folder. I didn't take it. It was already approved by somebody else. And it was a server at an event holding a platter. It was an appetizer. Their face wasn't in or anything. It was literally just the platter of food, and their hand holding it. And so I edited it and I posted it. And he immediately emailed me and said, this missed the mark. All I can see is the ill-fitting latex glove on the server's hand. It's too big for them. It looks like a diaper. And just like went off. He's like, you need to be noticing these things, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, I didn't notice. And I feel like if it was that big of a deal, I would have noticed. And how about, let's talk to the person who took the photo and approved it to be in the shared folder. And how about, let's buy your servers some gloves that fit them. How about that? All I said back was, okay, didn't notice that, sorry. I will look out for next time. But also, I could have just edited that out. Like literally AI could have fixed that, but he doesn't know that. Okay, so anyways, moving on.
Moving on. Immediately after that, he sends me an email saying, I need a full rundown of your daily objectives and how many hours you're working in a day. I have gotten screwed over in the past by people taking advantage of this hybrid position, talking about that girl. And I just want to make sure I don't run into that again. So I'm like, what? So immediately I have to go and think about everything I did in the, because that was another thing. I wasn't expected to make this. Like, I was never asked to track hours. I was never asked to track what I'm doing or anything like that. So I had to go through and think about every little thing I did the week before and how long it took me. Obviously, I don't know. I literally have no idea how long I worked the week before. So it took me an hour and a half, and I went through and logged everything I did from the week before and sent it to him. And he immediately emailed me, or no, he called me. He called me right after and said, hey, this isn't going to be a good phone call. I think we need to go our separate ways. I'm underwhelmed with your job performance, blah, 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 blah. Please return any equipment you have. And I was too stunned to speak. I literally just said, okay, thank you for the opportunity, blah, 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 goodbye. Obviously, he had already made up his mind, so I wasn't going to question him or fight him on it. Come back for part 2. Tried to post the part 2 of this video so many times, but TikTok keeps removing it. I don't know what happened. So just gonna refilm it, part 2 on how I got fired after 6 weeks. So after that phone call, I was literally just speechless. I was immediately just like panicked, sad, angry, like all the feelings. So obviously I called my mom. When Blake got home, I told Blake, I told my best friends, and everybody unanimously was just pissed, like astonished, like what? So confused how somebody, the owner of a company, could handle things so poorly and like that. Good as fuck. This is good. Not shocking everybody. I just become pissed. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, like, what the fuck? Like, how could somebody handle a situation like this? And this just doesn't make sense. Like, this is just so out of the blue for me. Like, it was out of the blue. I was not expecting this at all. He had just ordered me a company credit card. He had given me my own office. Like, he was doing things that made it feel like I was there to stay. So for him to just rashly fire me, it was like crazy. So anyways, he asked me to return the equipment I had. I literally had like a gimbal, whatever. So I'm like, oh, I'll return it. So I go return it like 2 days later, hoping to run into him to give him a little piece of my mind. Unfortunately, he wasn't there, so I went him an email. And it was professional, but I made him shit his pants. So basically, I was just like, I returned the equipment at this date at this time. I've had a lot of time to reflect over the last few days, and I would just like to express how incredibly unprofessional this entire process has been from the start. I was not set up for success in this role. You and I can both agree that you threw me into the wolves. There were no daily expectations, no daily task list. There was nothing expected of me that I knew of anyways. And I tried my best. I worked in person as much as I could. I would go to events every weekend. Every Saturday, I was going to a wedding to shoot content. I feel like it was really unprofessional how you went about this. There was no warning of the termination of my role. The least I deserved was a meeting, a conversation, a performance improvement plan. If you really thought I was underperforming. And then I said a casual phone call is not what I consider professional. I said some other things, and then I ended it with, and lastly, I'd like to thank you for letting me go, because I would never want to work for a company so immoral. Send. He immediately responds, and I didn't open it until about a week later, just because I got off my chest what I needed to. I knew whatever he had to say back was only to hurt me or be condescending, and mentally I couldn't handle it at the time. So I opened it a week later. I have mixed feelings about not responding right away. Like, part of me is like, oh, I should have responded so that I could, like, really clear my name. But I'm glad I didn't, because what do I have to gain? Like, what do I have to gain at this point from doing that? But what he responded was, thank you, Lauren, for returning our equipment. Ironic of you to question our company's ethics when you were the one clearly taking advantage of a hybrid position.
I went through your Google Analytics and it shows that you are working nearly as many hours as you claimed. This type of position or this type of job isn't meant for everybody. Best of luck to you. And that's why I wish I would have responded because I could have been like, here's the thing about geriatrics, like him, they are so out of touch, like so incredibly out of touch. He has no idea that I don't use. Okay, so I had a Google account with them for my email. The only thing I used it for was obviously emailing people